In my defense, like 3 people I were dating that week had like the same birthday. So I think it was
I don't think you're helping your cause right now.
Oh, wake up, rethink the status quo. When you get your money right, then you're the one who runs your life. Come build a wealthy spirit with Sammy and Michelle.
I'll admit it. I have a problem.
What's that?
I have a tendency to take responsibility for other people's feelings.
Oh, that's true.
Often I will deprioritize myself, my needs. It doesn't even occur to me to ask what I want. I'm so trained to think about other people's feelings first. And I know what you're thinking, Sam. Is that so bad?
Is it a crime to be nice?
Is it a crime to be nice?
Answer yes.
Crime, maybe not. But bad or hurting you? Possibly. Which is what we're going to delve into today. I was reading Nidra Tawwab's book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And she said something that really struck with me, something that I've been repeating to people over the past few months. She highlighted that some people put their needs before other people, and they assume everyone else is doing the same. On the flip side, some people put other people's needs before theirs and assume that everyone else is doing the same.
When I first heard that quote, when you first told me about it, actually, I thought those people who don't put other people's needs first are rude.
They suck.
They suck. But when I really thought about it, I actually like being surrounded by those people. I like having those people as friends because I don't have to worry that they're secretly hiding what they're feeling. They're clear, they're direct. I know that they say what they mean, and if they need something, they're going to tell me.
Exactly, Sammy. And this quote really put it in perspective for me. You're not really a rude person if you're putting your needs first and you assume other people are doing the same. That's your worldview, and you assume others are doing the same. And you can see where the conflict is if you're putting other people's needs before your own, and then somebody else also puts their own needs. You're like, whoa, this person isn't thinking about me. This person is being rude. This person is taking advantage of me. When in reality, shouldn't the responsibility be on us to take care of our needs? That's the thing I want to delve into today, because we have been really going into this topic of taking responsibility over responsibility for other people's feelings, and I think so many of us are in this boat.
Let's get into it.
But first, here's somebody you can give a responsibility to. Our partner, AirHelp. AirHelp is so great because if something happens, for example, Sammy, you and I are flying quite a bit in the next few months, and I am really manifesting good luck for us. However, I'm glad I have someone like AirHelp where if something goes wrong, the flight gets delayed, we get bumped, we lose our luggage, we can go to them and give them the responsibility of going after the airlines and figuring out if there's some kind of compensation we can get. I know I get so frustrated when I have to stay overnight in Dallas because every flight got canceled and then I can't even reach the airlines to reschedule. And so when everything is said and done, I do want to get mine, but I like to put that responsibility on someone else. So if you're like us and you fly often and you run into problems, check out AirHelp. Link in our show notes.
Now back to today's topic. Taking responsibility for other people's feelings.
Sammy, I want to say I am so grateful for the people in our life because a book that our friends in Charleston have been reading is Not Nice by Dr. Aziz Ghazipura. I was hesitant to pick up this book because let me tell you, I was like, I don't want to be not nice. I've seen myself be mean. That's right. I associated not nice with mean. And I was nervous. But on this topic of taking responsibility for other people's feelings, he has a whole chapter dedicated to over-responsibility. And Sammy and I just really resonated with this idea and didn't even realize how nefarious it actually is.
Exactly, Michelle. And when we say taking responsibility for other people's feelings, we mean that when you're about to make a decision about what you want to do or what you want to say, you over-prioritize how someone else is going to feel over being direct about what your needs are. Of course, sometimes it's practical not to say mean things to people if it's unnecessary. But if it's going to affect your own needs and what you desire and what you want to happen, then it's important to say what you mean and be clear and direct. And Dr. Aziz Gazipura really emphasizes how that is actually a very kind thing to do.
I'm excited to delve into some examples about this, Amy, because I think it's so clear where I can see this in my own life. But there is a good question that might be a little bit uncomfortable to sit with first. If you are somebody who's a bit of a people pleaser, if you are someone who takes responsibility for other people's feelings, or if you find yourself facing a tough conversation with a partner, a boss, a parent, and you're starting to think, hey, ooh, that's me, you gotta ask yourself, where does it come from? And one thing that Dr. Aziz does highlight is it's common to come from childhood. Because as kids, we see our parents upset. We see adults upset. We don't really understand that it's not our fault. And then we might react. We try to resolve it.
Now, it's perfectly normal for parents to get upset sometimes. Being an adult, I get upset. I am at an age where I could easily have children. And it's perfectly normal that I might get upset around children. But when we're a kid and we see our parent upset, we often take responsibility for their mood, even if it has nothing to do with us.
I've seen this in our childhood as well.
No, ours, no.
Here's the thing. Growing up, both of our parents worked, oftentimes opposite shifts. So somebody was working at night, somebody was working during the day. My mom would come, she would work in our classrooms after midnight shift, she'd volunteer in our library. She was doing a lot. And I'm sure not meeting all of her needs. Classic Indian mother, my mom takes this to the extreme. What happens, though, is that sometimes you can get upset. Sometimes she would be frustrated. She was a nurse. She was going through some traumatic stuff at work, I'm sure. She comes home, she's upset. I'm a kid. I'm thinking, oh my God, my mom's upset. It's my fault. And I do think I constantly thought about how could I prevent my parents from being unhappy. And for me, that was a little bit of a boop-a-da-ba-ba-dee-ba-ba-doo.
Michelle, being a performer, entertained. She lightened the mood, and she does a great job of it, to be honest. That's how she tried to take responsibility for our parents' emotions.
No surprise, I still react to anybody's bad mood the same way.
I maybe have a little less emotional intelligence. And my mom would come home and she would say, "This house is a mess. The dishes aren't done." List off house being dirty complaints. So I logically thought, let me just clean. And I love cleaning. So what I would do is try to tidy everything up before she got home so that when she came home, it would be nice and clean and organized.
I don't know, Sam, if you had less emotional intelligence or if I was lazier. Hard to say.
I don't have to clean if I'm funny.
And one thing we know about Sammy, she's organized, she loves cleaning. She often likes to be an essentialist and take chaos and make it structured. In fact, if you bring chaos into Sammy's life, she will try to organize it for you. That's just the thing that she carries now. But I think it makes sense in those examples that, yeah, growing up, seeing our parents upset, totally normal. I mean, even just recording this, I'm like, oh my God, what will my mom think about this example? Already taking responsibility for her feelings. And I do love you, Mom. But at the same time, I got a podcast to put out. I got to share my experiences. I got to be vulnerable.
So if you're listening to this podcast, think about your own childhood. How did you take responsibility for your parents' feelings if you did?
Or any adults around you. Maybe your teachers, a babysitter, whatever people were around you.
An angry sibling.
Is that me?
I'm not going to take responsibility for your feelings.
Okay, received.
The truth is, you may be carrying some of that with you today in how you respond to people.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, I think as a society, I think this is true of American culture. We do try to overthink about other people's feelings. I think as Asian people, we're told, okay, put your head down, don't bother anybody. It's a very seen but not heard culture. Indians aren't the quietest Asian people, I will say. They got a little bit of their own opinion. But there is this idea like, If you go to your work, you don't bother anyone, you don't complain, they're going to recognize you're doing a good job, and you will be rewarded. The squeaky wheel is just squeaky. It doesn't get the reward, which is not how life works, to be honest.
Speaking of taking responsibility for people's feelings, this week I went to my personal training appointment, and I could tell my personal trainer was not in a great mood. Now, there's 4 of us there, so it's not like it's on me. But I started to feel myself taking responsibility for his mood, but I caught myself. I started thinking things like, oh, maybe he's upset because I haven't been coming to many sessions. And then I started rationalizing, I need to tell him why I haven't been attending. I haven't been in town, blah, 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 blah. And then I started thinking, maybe he thinks I don't want to be here. Maybe he thinks I'm lazy. But I caught myself. And I said, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. He might be upset for another reason. I think he has a baby. You know, there's a lot of things that could be going wrong in his life, and it could have nothing to do with me. There's 3 other people here. Who knows what they're up to? And the truth is, his mood is not our problem, and we are not responsible for it.
That is the key point, Sammy. Even if you were the problem, you don't necessarily have to fix it. It's not your job to investigate what he's upset about and try to solve it or to bring his mood up. You can be your wonderful, charming, heavy lifting self, and maybe that'll bring him joy. But the point is, it's irrelevant. He has a million things that could have turned off his day. And if he has a problem with you, and this is the part, people, that I think we forget, he has the ability to vocalize it and tell you. And you just, this is crazy to me, have to have faith that people will do that. And if they don't do that, you don't have to accommodate them necessarily.
And Shakarino, after about 5 minutes into the session, he was perfectly fine. So whatever it was, obviously passed.
This is so resonant with me, Sammy, right now, because I'm reading Not Nice. I'm also, for the past 6 months, have been dating a little bit more. I came into dating this time thinking I want to be a very intentional dater. I'm like, I have a goal in mind. I'm looking for a partner. I want to be clear with the people I'm dating. And let me tell you something. I did not realize how many tough conversations I would have to have. I have literally broken up with about 6 people in the past 6 months.
Flex.
Sometimes to break up with myself. I'm not saying all these people loved me. I'm just saying I had to express to them that the relationship was over. And before this, I had never done that. I either waited until somebody broke up with me, or I just, faded, or I was not really responsible.
Ghosted.
I wouldn't say that, but who knows? Maybe that happened a few times. I don't know. It did. If I'm being honest. But it made me appreciate how difficult it is to have these conversations, and also, plot twist, how much kinder it is to have these conversations.
I can totally relate to that, Michelle. There was a period of time in my life where I stopped dating because I did not like the emotional pain of having to end relationships with people. Even if it was just after a few dates, I was like, this is very painful.
It's so hard to be heartbreakers.
Just such a heartbreaker. It's so challenging.
It's so challenging. No, I think the truth is that a lot of people are afraid to have tough conversations like this because in a breakup, for example, you are potentially hurting the other person, especially if you think they like you. I found myself in the extreme version of this scenario. There was somebody I went on a couple of dates with. There were a lot of great things about this person. He was smart, self-made. I really respected a lot of parts about him, but I realized after the second date, he was not my person.
Oh.
Unfortunately, during that time, he was very invested in our relationship, very much so had gone in the opposite direction.
What do you mean invested?
I would say that he was very into me. He loved me, maybe. He put me on a pedestal, was learning Malayalam, our mother tongue.
You don't even know Malayalam.
I don't. I told him that, and he said, don't worry, we'll learn it together. 2 dates. And the thing is that I get it.
One of the hardest languages to learn.
Well, if you do learn it. It's not Indian, by the way. And the thing is that after our second date, his birthday. I had given him The Alchemist. We had talked about making plans for Valentine's Day. And then I drove home. And on the drive home, I was like, I can't do this. It's not us. And I'm really recognizing more than other people I've dated, he's making plans in advance. He's buying tickets in advance. Time, money, energy is going into this relationship. And I know I don't want it to continue.
To be clear, he had bought tickets for an expensive show on Valentine's Day.
He hadn't bought them yet, but he may have bought them soon, so I was worried.
Had he bought them or had he not bought them?
I don't know. He said
he bought
didn't
them
buy
the
them.
day he met you.
No. The point is my first response was, I will go to these events that I told him I would go to, and then I will break up with him. Literally, we went on 2 dates, and then I was like, I'll go on 4 dates, and then break up with him. Because I thought to myself, I had already committed to him, and I didn't want to make him feel bad. It was his birthday. I had already said yes.
You broke up with him on his birthday?
No, okay. I didn't break up with... It was the day after his birthday, the morning after. Same day as his birthday party. But, that's why you give people The Alchemist so that they realize that it wasn't meant to be. The point, though, is I actually was thinking I will go and continue spending time with him to not hurt his feelings. When in reality, when I thought about it, I was like, I don't want to go to this show on Valentine's Day. I have 2 evenings. I had promised 2 evenings that I did not want to go to this event. It's not his fault that I had promised this. At the same time, I made a quick decision. But the bigger thing was I have to think about myself. I didn't want to go. I would only be resentful if I went. I would be stressed. And I always complain about how I don't have enough time. And now all of a sudden I'm giving away my time for no reason except to preserve someone's feelings. And the truth is, it doesn't matter how many dates we go on. It's going to suck anyway when I end things with him.
I feel sad for him, but I should not.
Yes, he's a grown man. He can take it on the chin. I'm sure he understands that not every relationship works out.
So what'd you do?
So I texted him the next morning, 7 a.m., and I said, happy birthday. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. I just didn't say that. In my defense, 3 people I were dating that week had, the same birthday. So I think it was
I don't think you're helping your cause right now.
Anyway, what was the point of this podcast? Oh, yes, don't take responsibility for other people's feelings. I'm going to take responsibility for your judgment right now.
Michelle, as much as I'm giving you a hard time, I do think you did the right thing. If it were me, I would really appreciate that somebody was clear and ended things after the second date if that's how they're feeling. As much as we try to preserve people's feelings and we think, I should go on 2 more dates to be nice, that's actually going to make the situation worse. And we know that. But sometimes it can be hard to have those tough conversations and be not nice in the moment.
Exactly, Sammy. This is an example of where I think I did the right thing, but there are plenty of times in my life where I avoided the conversation with a friend or didn't want to tell someone something because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. But the truth is I didn't want to have it. I didn't want to deal with an uncomfortable situation. And that is actually just going to cause problems to spiral. And for me, it definitely manifests in resentment, stress, guilt, all of those feelings. Versus I have found in this exercise of just being direct with people, they might be hurt, they might not care, I don't know, but it's actually not my responsibility to worry about their feelings. It's my responsibility to communicate clearly and understand what my needs are and cut out the things that I don't want to have in my life.
Takeaways.
Takeaways for this episode. First of all, I just want to re-emphasize that Nidra idea that some people put their needs before other people and they assume everybody else does the same, and other people put other people's needs first and they assume everybody does the same.
I have now become to embrace this idea of becoming somebody who puts my needs first and imagines a world where other people are putting their needs first as well. I'm not saying I can't be conscientious of other people's feelings. Let's say we go to a restaurant with friends. I do like to know what everybody wants to do and pick an option that we all enjoy. But that doesn't mean I have to sacrifice if we decide to go get Italian food and I'm not really in the mood for Italian food.
The thing is, when we try to take responsibility for other people's feelings, we do hurt ourselves because we're not meeting our needs, and we're also hurting other people. One, we might start to become resentful for them. We might later get upset about not being able to meet our needs, which will make our previous behavior seem fake or fraudulent. It'll seem like we didn't have integrity before. And also, we're babying the other person. We're kind of patronizing them. They can handle things. They can manage their own emotions.
I do find, Sammy, when I'm on the receiving end of someone else taking responsibility for my feelings, even when it's well-intentioned, if someone doesn't want to give me bad news or they don't want to have a tough conversation with me, I become very resentful about it. Or I feel worse because I can tell something is wrong. And for them to pretend like something isn't makes me feel a little crazy. And so I know when I'm on the other side of it, I would rather someone just tell me and have faith that I'm resilient and that I can work through however this feeling manifests.
Community time!
Before we say goodbye, it's our community time. We had such a great response to the Byron Katie episode. Charmene said that she used the methodology, the 4 questions, for her work stress and found it to be super helpful. I'm telling you, try these 4 questions. They seem simple, but I'm surprised. Sometimes I start crying. And it comes out of nowhere, and it's so nice to be able to do with Sammy.
Paul liked that we used Byron Katie as a verb, Byron Katieing different scenarios, which is what I'm doing with my entire life right now.
I didn't even realize it, but it's so true, and we love Byron Katieing. We're all about it. Also, Abby loved the episode, found it really resonant, and she got engaged. Not related to listening to our podcast. Who knows? Maybe. Congratulations, Abby. Thank you so much for being a dedicated listener, and congratulations on your engagement.
Congratulations, Abby. Important update from the Department of Education. The income-driven repayment waiver, the IDR waiver, has been extended through June 30th. What does that mean? It means that you can still consolidate your loans with the government through June 30th. Why would you want to do this? You would want to do this if you are eligible for public service loan forgiveness, and this would make it so that payments would apply to your entire loan balance. As an example, I worked as a nurse assistant at a nonprofit hospital prior to going to PA school. A majority of my student loans were accumulated during PA school. However, by consolidating my loans, any time that I get approved for during that nurse assistant time applies to my entire loan balance. So that means extra months are applied to the entire balance, and it will mean that I get my loans forgiven faster. People who have done this, who listen to this podcast, have literally gotten their entire loan balance forgiven. If you don't understand what any of this means, please just message me or comment on buildawealthyspirit.com, and I am happy to help you. We want everybody to get their loans forgiven if they're eligible.
Not financial advice, entertainment podcast. BuildAWealthySpirit.com. Let us know your thoughts on this episode. Are you someone who takes responsibility for other people's feelings? I'm guessing yes.
And most importantly, be sure to join us next time as we put down the rule book and we rethink the status quo.